All right, here we are for part three. What will be come hell or high water, the last part of Blocky's revenge. Because if this fails, then I'm going to go back to what I did last summer and just generate that number with Z3. But we're going to try brute forcing it just for a little bit of change of pace here. Apologize for my crappy code, but it is what it is. So as I said before, what I did is I appropriated this cream input, and it doesn't have to be cream. It just happened to already be there. But now when I type cream into the chat, what will happen is it will generate a counter, and then while that counter is just for this first run, I've already done a run of 10. I'm going to do a run of 100 just to see how it goes, and if everything is stable, I'm going to go ahead and generate a number large enough that it will run overnight. But what will happen is on every iteration, it will generate a random... Oh, I should probably explain why it's generating a random hex. So these are the packets that I captured for when I was turning the switches off and on, and then I realized, of course, they are all the same except for the last, guess what, 32 bits. So, which makes sense because we have a 32-bit input. So this is essentially representative of the layout in the game. Each of these switches is 1 bit. And so we have, when all of the bits are on, we have the last 32 bits is FFFFF. So essentially, it is a hexadecimal number between all zeros, which would be all inputs off, and all Fs, which would be all inputs on. And that's what determines the configuration of the entire array. So we don't have to actually switch them on or off individually. It turns out that we just need to generate some 32-bit hexadecimal value. And so what I did is I have myself here a rand hex, right here, a function, and that will generate a 32-bit random hex string. So, and then it takes that number and it appends it to the packet hex stream for the switch, right? So it appends, let's see, let me put it down here. So it appends here plus rand, which in this case would be that in this particular case. So it appends this with that random value. Then it increments count and sends it off to the server. And I have a sleep in there. I don't know if a sleep is specifically necessary, but I don't want to flood the server and crash it. So, which is a real possibility if you're trying this at home. You can do that. I did it a couple of times testing this out. So, yeah, let's get the thing set up here, and I'll show you how it works. Okay, what I'm going to do now is I have to actually get back to the last challenge here. I don't know if this is the case for you. I don't remember it being the case for me, but as it happens, these doors are closed every time I reload the game. I don't know. I can't remember that being the case. Luckily, it's pretty easy to get through these after you do it a couple of times, as I have already. All right, so here is our 32-bit array. I might have, in the first test of 10 that I did, I might have already guessed the right one. I didn't see an achievement proc, so it's probably not that. All right, so now I'll just enter in our command, and now as you can see, every second or so, it's trying a new random combination. Now, this is not the best way to do this. Like, if I really wanted to brute force this in the most elegant possible way, if that's not too much of an oxymoron, is I could generate random hex values and then make sure that they're not repeated, because as it is, they certainly might be. Because I'm not keeping track of what's already been generated. So this is fairly crude. I'm sure there's also better ways to do the RNG. There might be something else with the protocol that is decipherable. There might even be an even better way to do this, and there might be a solution in the binary for all I know, because there is an offline mode, which means that even though it seems as if, because there is a server and a client component to these switches, when you flip a switch, it actually sends a message to the server, and the server sends a message back to the client, which is what causes the actual change in state with the rails. But there is an offline mode, and the puzzles still work in the offline mode. So the logic is in the client somewhere. I just don't know where it is. I wasn't able to find it. So, all right. So that's our brute forcer here is going to work. It's going to try random generations, random iterations of switch configurations. I am going to stand here by the door, and I'm just going to keep my camera pointed here at the door. I'm going to turn the recording off. I'm going to leave the game client running in the background until this series of 100 is done. If the door is not open after that, then I will essentially start the process all over again and let it run overnight. My character should be pretty safe here. Oh, it looks like the iteration of 100 is done and it didn't open the door. So we're going to have to let it run and hope we get lucky overnight. And if I get it, I will come back. Well, either way, I'll come back, because even if it doesn't work, I'll still show you the solution that I generated from last summer. So hang tight, and we will be back after this runs for several hours. Well, welcome back here, folks, for Blocky's Revenge solution, as it is. So I'm gonna go out and buy me a lottery ticket. Okay, good news and bad news. Mostly good. So first of all, I left the brute forcer here running approximately, well, whatever the timestamp is on the last video, which you won't be able to see. Okay, I don't know, overnight. I guess like maybe 10 to 14, maybe 15 hours or something. As you can see, it's still running. What I ended up doing is just setting it for a time. Let me put it this way. So what we have here are 16 to the 8th power of possible combinations. So 32 bits, which is about 4.3 billion possible combinations. Now, the values that I'm trying are completely randomized, so it may try the same combination more than once. It may try the same combination 4 billion times. I mean, that would be extremely statistically unlikely, but theoretically a possibility. So I'm not trying all 4.3 billion of those, and also I wouldn't have the time to do that anyway, because excuse me, my brute forcer is trying approximately one combination per second, which means that there's 4.3 billion combinations, which means if we do one per second, which is not exactly going to be one per second, but for the sake of argument, one per second, that is 71.5 thousand minutes, or one, or did I say 71.5 thousand? It's definitely more than that, 71.5 million minutes, or 1 million, 1.2 million hours, or about 50,000 days to run the whole, before the script would stop running. Which means that we had to get essentially extremely lucky in order to find one of the combinations. How many did I actually try? So let's assume, and again, this isn't the case, but let's assume that I was able to try one different, a unique combination, randomly generated combination per minute. So if I ran that for, let's say on the low end, 10 hours, then that's going to be 600 minutes. Yes, that's right. So we only tried approximately 36,000 different combinations. Good news is that it did work. I logged in, checked this morning. The Blocky quest was gone. I have no quests available. So at some point, it did find the correct combination, which is just extraordinarily lucky on our part. If I were to continue to do this, I might let it run for a week, or at least run for a week while I'm working on another solution. But in this case, we did happen to generate the correct code. The problem is that I don't have any checking in the script to see, wait, this was the correct code. It's a very dumb script. It's just generating random hex values and then pushing it out to the server to try it. So even though it worked, as you can see, it's still running here, trying random combinations in the background. The door closed because the next combination obviously was incorrect. So unless I get extraordinarily lucky again and the door reopens and I can get in there, um, I'm kind of locked out. But the chest is open and it is waiting for me to loot it. So, but now we should be able to teleport in there and get it. I think. I mean, the quest has been satisfied. At this point, it's just a matter of geography. I just can't get past this glass. So, unless the quest stage is conditional on that door actually being open when we loot the chest, we should still be able to loot the chest. So, I'm going to get Cheat Engine up and we will teleport into that room and we're going to see if we can loot the chest. So, give me just a moment. Okay, and I'm absolutely just going to go ahead and leave that script running in the background. Um, Simply because I am curious about it. All right, let's get back into the game and we're going to find our XYZ position so that we can teleport. So I'm going to go back here where there's this ramp. Okay. Um, Cheat engine. We know that this is a unknown initial value, but we do know that it's a float. So nope, unknown initial value. Okay. And this will be now in increased value compared to the first scan. Up, scan. And we'll do it again, and increased value compared to the last scan now. Yep. All right, we're getting there. Now it will be a decreased value compared to the last scan, and we're going to jump off. Not that far. It's a little far I want to go. That's fine. Right. All right, and we're getting to it. Let's do unchanged value, unchanged value, changed value, changed value. Okay, we still got a lot to search through here, so let's do another increased value. And 15,000, we're getting there. Let's do a decreased value. Slide off, come on. Precision fall damage. Okay. 4,000, so let's do an unchanged. We could probably even do an unchanged compared to the first game because we're actually at ground level here, so 208, that's more like it. All right, let's see what we got. Just looking for a value that looks like our Z position. I mean, honestly, this is the one that looks like it's the most. Yeah, it doesn't, I mean, it's the only value that looks the closest, but it also looks too high. So, although I don't know what my current Z position is. No, it's not that one. Did we accidentally weed it out? May have, we may have just accidentally weeded it out. Okay. I mean, this looks way too high. Dang. I have to start over. I wish that I had just done the pointer paths for these. I should just do the pointer paths and then all right, we're gonna start a new scan. We're gonna do an unknown initial value and we'll do all. Anyway, I just done the pointer paths for these so I can create a trainer and then I'm gonna have to well, but then I guess next time I run the class I'm gonna be doing this again anyway, so it doesn't All right, we're gonna do an unchanged value. We're gonna do a scan. Oops, I forgot to check compared to the first scan. Let's cancel that. Okay, let's do it again. I really shouldn't be doing these unchanged this early on. It's just taking too long to get through them. So to be clear, I know that I've already shown you the numbers, but leaving this to run overnight like that and getting the correct code is extraordinarily lucky. Extraordinarily lucky. Like there's the chances of that working are well, okay, let's so we can actually figure out the chances because we know the possible combinations. So if you tried 36,000 of 4 billion, um, that's a 1 in 4,000 chance. No, that's not right. It's higher than that. Well, at any rate, it's not that important, but it is extraordinarily lucky. Like there's no guarantee that that would have worked at all. Given a long enough time frame and with a smart enough script where we're not trying or we're checking to see if we've already tried different values and we're weeding those out. That is at least a better way to do it because then with enough time, at least it assures that we will eventually find it. Though, as I said, the amount of time that you would have in order to try each of those at the rate that I'm trying them is along the lines of oh, I'm comparing to the first game. Shit. There I am talking and searching at the same time and screwed. Okay. Anyway, what was I saying? So right, yeah, the amount of time that you'd have to invest in order to try all of those is longer than human beings can possibly live, but with enough time you would assuredly find it. Um, so brute forcing is a game of luck more than anything else. And we got extraordinarily lucky this time around. Come on. Come on. All right, increase compared to the last game. We move up. Oh, for God's sake. I wonder if No. Hold on. Just let me get my coordinates. Do this. I might have to pause this while I'm. Yeah, you know what? You've seen me do the finding my position. If you watch the previous videos, you've probably seen me do it a dozen times. So I'm going to pause the videos while I find those values. I'll come back to you after I get them before we teleport into the room and check and see if we can open the chest. So I won't make you sit here and watch this. Okay, we got our positions. And I'm ready to head back and teleport through that wall. I probably should have taken the high road, but that's fine. Okay. I'm going to get as close to the wall as possible. There we go. I'm butting up against it. I just got to figure out what direction to move these guys in here. Let's see. Let's see. If I move. All right. So we are at negative 2695. That is going down, and our Y value is going up. I don't have to make a huge change here. Wait, now it's going up. I thought it was going down. Oh, okay. All right. So it looks like we are okay. I get it. Just tweak these values a little bit. Let's change this to. Yeah, there we go. We just had to get into the room. We don't have to worry about things too much. All right, so we're in the room. Can we loot the chest? That is the question. We can. I got disconnected for some reason. But we got some stuff I want to take a look at. What's up? Why did we get disconnected? Is proxy still running? Yeah, and it's still trying combinations too. Weird. Oh no, she crashed. She dead crashed. Okay. Gotta restart it. Apparently does not like continuing to try combinations after the quest is completed. All right. At the beginning of Fort Blocks. Let's see what we got though. I did see something about a heat spray. The heat spray. It's really effective in confined. Oh, it's a shotgun. Static link with that, or the Rubik's cube. I mean, and we did get a flag. Flag of the pirates. Lava. Hunter cow. Flag of the block. There it is. It may glow red, but it's not stone. Then heat spray. Wait, I'm gonna turn the audio on. I gotta do it again. Heat spray. Ooh, that's a meaty thump. So, you know, what's really interesting about these is I actually want to see something. So here we have a cowboy coder. So the way that guns work in video games is there's actually not just one way. There's actually several ways that it might work. But what I'm looking at here right now is earlier we were doing a little bit of a test with the amount of spread between shots. Excuse me while I try to sit up instead of basically laying down in my chair. Is the amount of spread, the accuracy of the weapons. And this is accomplished in games in a number of different ways. One way is to actually have an RNG, which essentially will determine a certain amount of inaccuracy per shot. So randomly, shots will be off the center of the crosshairs by, 5, 10, 500, whatever it happens to be. Some games, more sophisticated games like I think Apex does this, I think Overwatch does this, will instead have a combination RNG and array so that, for example, your first shots are maybe 1 or 2% off the crosshairs, but subsequent shots increase the amount of inaccuracy as you fire, meaning that your last shots in your clip, if you're sustained fire, will be maybe as much as 120 or 150% off targets. So you're more accurate, and the longer you shoot, the more inaccurate you get. It's a replication of realism kind of a thing. In addition to that, there are different ways that this is visible in games. So spread from a weapon. Generally, projectiles don't come from the tip of the gun, as they do in real life. The gun is just a view model. What you're seeing here, it's just something to represent to the player that there's a gun in the character's hand. The bullets actually come from essentially the character model's face, right? So they come out of our eyes at the crosshairs. Where was I going with this? Oh yeah, so bullet spread. But that's not necessarily always the case. Some games do actually have the projectile coming directly from what would be the end of the gun. The reason that they do this in games is because the strange way that viewing works, right? So the crosshairs, if we were to actually draw a line between the crosshairs and the barrel of the gun, we would find that there's definitely an incongruity here. My gun is actually, so if I'm pointed here at this tile, if the bullet actually came out of the gun, which tile would it hit? And the answer is it would hit this tile, probably somewhere around here, if I'm aiming at this one. But of course, the bullet strikes the tile I'm aiming at, right? That's because the bullet's not coming out of the barrel of the gun. There's also this issue with the view model where if we go too close to a wall, we actually clip into it. I'll see it even better with this. Yeah, we actually clip into it. Most games will, so what this means, because we're clipping into it, is it means the view model is on the same overlay as the world. And many games actually have the view model be so inconsequential that it's actually a separate layer and doesn't actually interact with the game world at all. But this is how we can tell, because the view model for the gun is actually in our character, in our character's hands, I guess I should say, being rendered in that fashion instead of just being an overlay in first-person view, because we can still clip through walls with it. Anyway, the thing that I wanted to test is the spread with the cowboy coder to see if there's a difference between this and the golden gun. So let's reload it, and we'll do 6 rounds. So you see how it's a little bit inaccurate? We're basically on the tile, but it's the spread is essentially one tile of spread. Let's see if the golden gun's any more accurate. No, I wouldn't say so. It seemed to be about the same to me. Okay, so what this means is that we are done. The flag of the block is our last challenge, and we have it. So we have no more quests. And the only achievements that we have left, or the last assignment, I guess I should say, is the Overachiever flag. And in order to do that, we have to get all the achievements. And throughout this course, we have done all of them, except for the last 2, which is PvP. So in order to do that, what I'm going to have to do is, well, first I'm going to get back to the town. And I'm going to need to boot up a second client, create a second account, turn on PvP, and kill myself a couple of times. Yeah, exactly. So let me start up. Actually, no, that's going to have to be a separate video because we're talking about the last quest. So that's it for Blocky's Revenge. The next video, we will be doing the Overachiever and our course wrap-up. So take care.